Thank you, Martin. Thanks for giving me the stage to address you guys. It gives me a lot of comfort that you've been practicing my surname over the past few weeks. It was a cause of much distress the last time I was speaking with Martin. So my name's Gavin, Sathianathan. I'm head of multi-channel retail at Facebook across EMEA. I'd like to talk to you guys about a couple of things today. Firstly, we'll look at the audience, the Facebook audience in the UK. Our audience has evolved a lot over the past 3 or 4 years, and I think there's some interesting data that I can share with you about how people are thinking about Facebook in terms of retail, product discovery, brand awareness, etc. Secondly, we'll run through some case studies of folks who I think are doing good things, both on Facebook in terms of their presence on the page and with their ads, but also off Facebook, integrating some of our technology into their web experience and their mobile experience. And then finally, we'll walk through some new products that we've been building, which are really our first products that are tailored for the online retail space. So first of all, Facebook in the UK. This is a snapshot of where we are today. So 34 million monthly active users in the UK. That's 34 million people who log into Facebook at least once a month, of whom 24 million are on mobile, and 67% of them come back every day. So if you just think about what that means in terms of reach, this is really the size of an audience that you get for the final of the X Factor, or it's the World Cup final, logging into Facebook every day. It's a great opportunity to get your message out in a very scaled way. The second thing that's interesting here is really the demographic spread. We can see that really what started off as a network for folks in universities and colleges has really blossomed into something that is approaching ubiquity across demographic age groups. So we can see that the 35 plus age group is actually the fastest growing age group, and it follows the adoption of many technologies that we've seen in the communication space. So when people first started texting or using Skype, it was young people who were using these technologies, and over time, the silver surfers, their grandparents wanted to communicate with their grandkids using these technologies. We're seeing the same effect with Facebook, that grandparents want to play games with their grandkids. They want to message with their grandkids, and so the fastest growing demographic is now really what you wouldn't expect. It's 35 and above. The final thing to note here is that the UK is a very mature market. That number of 246 connections per person is much higher than our global average. Globally, the average is about 130. What that means is because Facebook first came to the UK 7 years ago, people have accumulated connections as they've gone from school to university, university to their first job, and throughout life, and really retain these connections. So you have a very dense network of connections in the UK. And what that actually means for you guys is that we talk about 6 degrees of separation. Well, actually in the UK, it's 3 degrees of separation, that each of us will have two connections between us on average. And that means that information can spread very, very quickly as stories are spread through the newsfeed. So that's the story in terms of the audience, in terms of reach, but what does it mean in terms of engagement? Well, actually, we're the most engaging site on the internet. 1 in every 5 minutes online is spent on Facebook, primarily in the newsfeed. When we look at page views, we had a lot of internal debate about whether we'd share this data, because actually the way we count page views doesn't really map on an apples-to-apples basis with other sites. You look at your newsfeed and you're constantly scrolling. But even with that mechanic, we still far outnumber comparable sites in terms of page views. So really, we have this platform that's both got huge reach, but also is the most engaging site out there. Just to take a look at how the audience has evolved over time, we can see that from a gender perspective, not much has changed. We're broadly speaking 50-50 male, female. But the second order effect that you can see on the bottom left of the graph is really this changing age composition, where we've moved from 18% to 24% of our audience being between 50 and 64, and a decline in the audience that's between 18 and 24. So to deep dive into some of these segments that I think would be particularly interesting for you, we've carved out a bunch of different audience clusters, and we ran some polls and we ran some research to find out how they're thinking about Facebook. The first segment that I'd like to share with you is this segment that we call the always-on and very active segment. So these are young adults between 18 and 34. 84% of them use Facebook daily. They spend a lot of time on our site, 73 minutes a day. And 88% of them are watching television at the same time as they're talking to their friends on Facebook. So really, really interesting second screen experiences that we're starting to see being delivered in the market. We've also asked people, have you asked people on Facebook for a recommendation of a product or a service? This is really something that we've seen evolve a lot over the past couple of years, that really, when people first came to Facebook, they weren't asking for those types of recommendations from friends. But I'd tell all of you that if you go to your newsfeed and look down the newsfeed, you're more than likely to see someone asking for a recommendation for a book or a movie or a restaurant or some sort of service, and that's really how we see the internet evolving, that we're moving away from kind of going to Google to look for things where you know what you want to find, this process of discovery through the newsfeed, where your friends are really curating the things that you're seeing. The next segment is UK mums. Mums are actually the most engaged and active segment on Facebook, and it kind of makes sense if you think about it. You know, a woman falls pregnant. I've just been through this with my wife, and the first thing that she wants to do is reach out to her friends who've been through the same experience to find out, you know, what to expect, what products that she needs to buy. In fact, I was talking to someone from Kiddie Care recently, and they said that they have noted that mums often have baby in one hand, Facebook in the other, as they're getting kind of real-time feedback on what they should do. Mums tend to consume more than they create. I think that's a byproduct of them being pretty busy, but they use Facebook daily, and 92% of them are watching television at the same time as they're using Facebook. The final segment here is what we call the heavy mobile users. This is a segment of users who access Facebook primarily through their mobile device. I think we're at the sharp end of the shift to mobile, that we see in our own data really this marked trend towards people accessing first Facebook through mobile and desktop, and then solely using their mobile phone to access Facebook. And we've had a big shift internally to try and think about mobile first in a very deep way. Here we see that, again, 86% of users come back daily, 89% of them are watching TV, but interestingly for me, 47% of mobile users are on Facebook whilst commuting. I actually think that's a really interesting time to serve up content for commerce, for shopping. So I expect to see more Facebook page owners posting products early in the morning as people are commuting and in the evening as they're coming home. Great opportunity to engage with people while they're on Facebook. What this really means is that we've seen the kind of shift, we're in really the fourth generation of commerce business models, retail business models as we see it, and each of them have been marked by a distinct shift in technology. Really, as we moved from the open market to the high street, it was the train that caused kind of mass distribution of goods out to towns. The evolution of the car led to suburbia and out-of-town shopping malls, and that's how we see kind of super centres evolve outside of towns. Really, the change that we're seeing now is the adoption of the mobile device. The big shift that we see is actually that marketeers had to drive traffic into stores for each of the previous shifts. The new paradigm means that you have to engage with your customer 24/7 because it's actually through the mobile device that they'll be shopping. And what Facebook does is gives you the opportunity to engage with this consumer wherever they are, on mobile, on tablet, and on desktop. So that's a quick run through of the UK audience and how we see the evolution of our platform in terms of retail. I thought I'd share with you some interesting case studies from folks that we think are doing this really, really well at the moment. First up, Play.com. Play.com is a really interesting one. They, when we first started talking to them, had about 50,000 fans on their page. They're now up to a community of about 370,000 fans on the page. But really interestingly, they've dug into the analytics to try and figure out, well, what are these people? How does their behavior differ to the non-Facebook segment of their customer base? And they have positive economics. So folks who come from Facebook campaigns, who've engaged with Facebook campaigns, spend typically 24% more than people who hadn't. They have a higher year one spend, 80% year-on-year increase in terms of sales that are directly attributable through Facebook. And Facebook now accounts for £2 million of revenue. So we're holding up Play.com as really an interesting example of someone who's kind of cracked the on-Facebook commerce experience. Another company that I love working with is Burberry. Burberry have 13 million fans on their page. There is no way that those 13 million people are shoppers of Burberry. Otherwise, we'd all be buying stock in Burberry. But what they've decided to do is reward the fans of the page. And so they launched this fragrance, Burberry Body, last year. And in the run-up to the launch of Body, they decided to give the fans of the Facebook page the opportunity to claim a sample. And so they ran ads, as you can see, using some of our most premium inventory with videos of Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. And the way they thought about this was really in terms of data capture. So they would offer the ability for a fan of the page to claim this sample by filling in a form that sat on the page, including their email address and their delivery address, etc., etc. And so Burberry thought about this in terms of really a large data capture exercise where the cost of getting this data was the ability to reward the fans with this sample. Generated a lot of buzz online. You know, folks were uploading YouTube videos of them receiving the package and opening up their perfume, and actually led to a lot of buzz in the run-up to the launch of the fragrance in store. We worked with them to conceive what the customer journey would look like over a period of months. So they didn't dive straight into the commerce experience in October with the opportunity to buy the fragrance through Facebook, but they really thought about how are we going to tease the fans over a period of months by introducing first the shape of the bottle, then the model who was going to be the face of the fragrance, and then launching the campaign in last autumn. Another one from the fashion world is Topshop. Just recently, Topshop used Facebook for London Fashion Week. They'd run this same live stream on their site last year, concurrently with the actual catwalk experience, and had 100,000 viewers. So, you know, good, but not amazing. They offered the ability this year for people who are watching the stream on Topshop.com to take a picture with that small camera and to share that look with their friends on Facebook. And they say that they had 200 million views of the same catwalk experience in the 3 hours after the show. They actually sold out of this look during the show because they were offering the ability for people to order the look while they were watching the show online. Now, you might say that fashion and movies and content are particularly social areas. Well, the most engaging page on Facebook last month was about fridges and washing machines. So this is Appliances Online. Really, this is my favorite example of a brand that's created an amazing community on their page with what's ostensibly non-social goods. But actually, if you look at the level of advocacy that they have on the page, they have customers opening up their washing machines with glasses of champagne, sharing these photos back to the community, and people liking and sharing and commenting. Yeah, you might not understand, but it's doing great things for their business. They've taken this notion of having a social presence on Facebook to the .com site as well. So if you go to their appliancesline.co.uk, you're hit with this banner, which is effectively a social banner. You're prompted to log in with your Facebook credentials. They're scraping all of these positive comments from the Facebook page and serving them up, and they're also providing social proof with my other friends who are fans of Appliances Online. So the first thing I'm hit with is a personalized experience that talks to the level of advocacy they have on the page, but also my friends who have used this particular site. Moving gear, this is a startup, Fab.com. If you're not familiar with Fab.com, again, we'd encourage you all to go and have a look. It's the fastest growing e-commerce site ever. Ramping up to $150 million in sales within 18 months. Really, Facebook has powered their growth. So the first experience that you have when you hit fab.com is you're prompted to log in with your Facebook credentials to have a social shopping experience with your friends. And then when you go through and go through to the site, you're hit with a live feed of activity that's happening on the site. And they've filtered this live feed activity by what's popular across the whole of the customer base, but then in this view you can see what's popular amongst my friends, my Facebook friends. So I can now see which of my Facebook friends are liking products, buying products, adding products to wish lists, and they're doing this experience across the web and across their tablet experience and their mobile experience. The last company I'm going to mention is ASOS, and I'm going to talk about ASOS in the context of ads that they ran on Facebook. So we've talked about companies with awesome pages like Play.com and Appliances Online. We've talked about companies who use our technology on their own site, like Fab.com. But really, ASOS is a great example of a company that's figured out how to use Facebook ads in a really compelling way. We ran a study with ComScore. We've seen that there's a 130% uplift in folks who've been exposed to the Facebook campaign when it comes to their behavior on ASOS.com. But what's more interesting, I think, is that it's not only fans of the page that have these great economic characteristics, it's the friends of the fans that are also more likely to purchase than non-fans. So we're almost seeing this trickle-down effect of people acquiring a fan base, having that fan base talk to their friends, and spreading this positive word of mouth about the experience that they're having. So those are some case studies of companies that I think are doing a really good job. In terms of what's kind of immediately applicable, I think, for you guys, we've focused a lot as a company, actually, in the last year on building products that are now bespoke for the e-commerce industry. And the four that I think are particularly interesting are Facebook Exchange, which is a retargeting platform. We have a custom audiences product, which allows you to meld your data with Facebook data. We have an offers product, which is really great for getting your word out about promotions and deals. And we have a mobile app install product. So I'll walk through each of them in turn. Facebook Exchange is a retargeting platform that allows you to work with your demand-side provider to retarget folks on Facebook based on activity that they have completed on your site. So the traditional example here would be, I go through the checkout process, but I abandon my cart. There's a cookie that's been dropped. You can hit me on Facebook with an ad that says, we know you've been through the checkout process. Why don't you come back to complete your transaction? It's standard practice across the rest of the web. We're just bringing that online marketing technique to Facebook. We've seen really, really positive results here. The beta results were delivering up to 16 to 20 times return on investment. It's now live so that any company can start to work with an approved DSP to target people on Facebook based on the activity that they've completed on your site. The second product we have is a product called Custom Audiences. Custom Audiences allows you to take the segmentation that you have with your own customer base and create those same clusters on Facebook. So the way it works is you would upload a list of email addresses or phone numbers or postal addresses, and we would match those same email addresses against our own database of 34 million people in the UK, and allow you to then create clusters. So the best example here would be you have fans on your page, but you have a list of email addresses, and we can create a cluster of people who have given you their email address but are not currently fans of your page on Facebook. And that gives you a cluster of people to target with ads that say, hey, why don't you become a fan of our page and engage with us on a daily basis. Again, early results are very positive. This is from literally this week. We've seen, especially in those categories which are high consideration, high value, like travel or white goods, electronics, that the power of this product is very strong with large ROI returns. The third product here is Facebook Offers. It's essentially a page post that goes out to the fans of your page that says, hey, we have a special offer. There are two types of offer. You can see on the left an in-store offer, and on the right an online offer. And the flow is the following, that once I see that offer and click Get Offer, an email is sent to my email address that's associated with my Facebook account. But most importantly, that offer is then shared to all of my friends with the story that says Gavin has claimed an offer. So we're seeing offers as having really this massive viral component. The cost of distribution of offers is plummeting because we're relying on friends spreading the offers to their friends. And so, again, early indicators here are that the offers are extremely successful. We've had repeat campaigns from lots of providers. It's been especially successful in the travel vertical, where lots of companies are taking this product and using it to acquire customers in a very cheap way. The final product for retailers is actually really exciting, mobile app install ads. So what we've heard actually from retailers, brands, developers of all sorts is that getting my app downloaded is actually pretty difficult. If I'm not featured by Apple in their top grossing or featured or editorially driven list, it's very hard for people to discover my app. And in fact, we know startups that as their USP have figured out how the Apple org structure looks, and they're sending people, the right people, presents and t-shirts at the right time to make sure that their app is featured. So a real pain point for developers, a real pain point for everyone who's building apps, especially in a world where we expect 20 to 30% of transactions this Christmas to be through mobile. We're seeing mobile effects between 60 and 80% of purchases in terms of the overall journey. So getting your app into someone's smartphone is a real problem. What we do is allow you to advertise your app in the mobile newsfeed. The mobile newsfeed is by far the biggest platform on mobile. We have over 543 million users worldwide of our mobile products, and in the UK, 23 million monthly active users on mobile. So the opportunity to get your app into the mobile newsfeed is one that you shouldn't miss. We can overlay on top of that friends that have used your app. So we can add a layer of social proof that says, 3 of your friends have used a particular app, and we're seeing much higher click-through rates where we have this notion of social proof around apps. This went live yesterday. We've seen huge demand from gaming companies with large lifetime values who can afford to bid high CPAs, but we expect to see a lot of interest from the retail sector, especially in the run-up to Christmas, to get their apps on devices. So that's it from me. I was conscious of the 10-minute gong, and I can see Martin. But in the final minute that I have, I'd just like to finish with this notion that the journey is 1% finished. We have in our office lots of slogans that talk to the kind of culture at Facebook, but one of the ones that we always hold up with our clients is that the journey is 1% finished. This notion that every time you do something, you learn that there's a ton of other stuff that you didn't know before, and it leads you to figure out more stuff. Where we're coming from is we don't really know what the future of retail is going to look like, but we're looking for partners to help build what the future of retail looks like. And so we're building tools and infrastructure and products that we hope you guys will adopt to better serve your customers. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.